All right, everybody, welcome back to the Leading to a Higher Altitude podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Snyder, the current IFC Vice President of Public Relations. Today I'm joined by Zane Rollins, the IFC Vice President of Internal Affairs, Dean Maddox, and Dean Bell. How's everybody doing today?
Good, Sean.
Good to hear. Just like normal, the first question is a little bit of a icebreaker, but we're just going to get right into it. So if you weren't a dean right now, what other professions would you be pursuing?
I can start off. Dean Maddox here. I am pretty confident at this point. I think I'd be a principal somewhere, probably in a high school. That was my goal when I entered college, was to start off in in secondary education. My desire was to be a football coach and ultimately to be a principal. And I was on my way to that until that higher ed bug bit me, and I returned to higher education, and I started my professional career in student affairs back in '99.
Wow. And for you?
For me, I probably would be the director of a student union somewhere in the United States.
Okay.
That was my ultimate landing place that I wanted to do in my student affairs career.
That's awesome. Did you get to do that at all?
Well, back when Embry-Riddle was smaller, the student engagement consisted of 4 people.
Okay.
So you had multiple hats. So yes, I did facilities and policy development, a lot of building blocks of what you have today. But today's what you enjoy is enormous compared to what we had back then.
That's amazing. So you planted the seed.
I hope to think so. Yeah, I'd like to see myself as a farmer.
That's awesome.
I think it's interesting. Neither of you planned on becoming deans, I guess. You just we're glad to have you. Yeah.
Well, it's weird. Opportunity meets fate, and you make decisions on what your career is going to be. And the opportunities at Embry-Riddle, at least for me, were always there. And I achieved what I wanted to when I got out of grad school or from my undergrad. Other than that, it was going to be a life of retail, and I didn't want that.
Yeah, and for me, I mean, I desire to be a vice president of student affairs at some point, so I'm still trying to work that, and that became a goal of mine when I got in higher education, so definitely still on that path. I don't think where I am is where I will be, when I retire. But I do aspire to be a vice president, and I hope I'll be able to see that at some point.
Cool. That's awesome. Yeah, Dean Kohler and Dean Hall also did not plan on being deans. I feel like nobody really, from what I've gathered, plans on being a dean. You kind of move up into higher education, meet the right people at the right time, and then it kind of just goes from there. At least that was the case for them as well. All right, for the next question.
What are some of the current challenges facing fraternity and sorority communities around the country, and how do you best propose universities can address and support these challenges?
Since you went first last time, I'll go first. I think it's the same challenge that we faced 40 years ago when I became a Greek, and it is the lack of recognition for the positive work that we do as fraternity and sorority men and women. We are so blessed nowadays, or your generation, with social media that only focuses on the negative, but they do not promote and establish the wonderful leadership opportunities that Greek life offers students, and the millions and if not billions of dollars that are raised in real money and in community service money, if you equate a dollar figure. We do not promote ourselves enough.
Well, you mentioned you were in Greek life. What fraternity, what organization were you
I'm a
part of?
Delta Sigma Phi,
Where
founding
at?
father
Oh,
from UNC Wilmington, Zeta Omega chapter.
and for you?
Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated,
Yeah.
Psi Phi Chapter, Clarksville, Tennessee.
Notice we own it. I'm not ashamed of it. I get chills when we say it.
Mic drop.
Mic drop moment for real. All right. Leadership development is a cornerstone of fraternity and sorority life. Could you share some examples of how you've seen fraternity and sorority life members exemplifying leadership within the community and on campus?
I could jump in there first. And Dean Bell mentioned this a little earlier regarding the philanthropic work that fraternities and sororities life do in the community. I think that's very important to be seen, not just on campus, but in the community, being able to do those kind of things and raise funds for worthy causes, so that these organizations can continue to do the work that they do. In terms of leadership development, being able to stand up and to represent a university, to go out into the community and put face to a philanthropy, or to put face to a university and an organization, to do the work, to raise those funds, to be able to give back, I think is very important. I think that lends very well to leadership development, because it creates a platform for you all to be able to stand on, not just now, but potentially what you do after you graduate. Some of the work that I've done in my organization, I've been able to continue to do that for years, through some of the work that we do in Omega Psi Phi fraternity. And so that's why I'm still active in graduate chapters here locally in Daytona Beach.
That's awesome. Where at?
Omicron chapter.
Okay.
Here.
Did you want to add anything to that?
Just that I think one of the proudest moments that I had in the last 3 decades is when Embry-Riddle students think you're in the backwater of Greek life, right? Is that safe to say? And
Yeah.
when I've had several now of our fraternity and sorority members go on to be national consultants, you don't realize what a huge honor that is, and that you are the experts, and you learned it here at Embry-Riddle, and you took what you learned in leadership here through our efforts from your Greek advisors and your student government folks, and you took that and you went out and you healed, theoretically, your brothers and sisters across the country in different regions. And you have one right now with Beta Theta Pi.
Pi.
Yeah, he's our former student assistant is up there being
Oh,
a
wow.
consultant. Yeah, that's no greater compliment to the university than tapping your leadership experience as an Embry-Riddle graduate. Because obviously, if you're an engineer, pilot, whatever, we have a good career development path where you're going to go out and make money. You're taking a pause to go help your fraternities and sororities grow and do better.
Yeah. And I think there's many life lessons that are learned through doing that, like that isn't just applied within your fraternity. You apply those every day in everything that you do. And I think that's one of the most overlooked things about being in a fraternity, is that it teaches you so many valuable things, different viewpoints, perspectives, like you name it. You can learn almost anything life skill wise just from being in a fraternity. And I think that's one of the greatest benefits. And leadership's obviously the first one.
The fraternity and sorority community often faces scrutiny from both within and outside the university. Can you share a time when you navigated a particularly challenging situation or controversy, and what lessons did you learn from that experience?
I can share a personal one. In volunteering for my national, I was tapped as an alumni to go into a chapter review at North Carolina State University, which had 175 brothers. In 3 days, we divorced from 75 brothers. That was probably the hardest thing I ever had to do as a brother. But those 75 men lost their way and lost what we were about and what our values were. And we had a philosophy, and we still do, it's better to amputate than try to cure the cancer.
That must have been,
It's intense.
yeah. How did you even logistically, what would that look like?
There was 2 of us, and we had 14-hour days interview every brother.
Wow.
going over the basics, and if they couldn't answer it, that was a good indication that they weren't going to follow FIPG rules.
Yeah.
And I have a saying that you're 18, 19, 20 years old, but it's new to you. So we have to constantly educate our new members what we're about and demonstrate what that it is, and go out there and promote it and make it okay. So you don't have the secret BS go on behind the scenes. And when we fail to do that, whether because it's large size or big reputation, if you ever go to NC State, the Delta Sig House is a former golf resort, and it is a mansion. I mean, it is what every stereotype you could imagine, but doesn't make them above the law.
Yeah, I was like, especially in fraternities, you're always educating with new members coming in all the time, especially about this, the open stuff. At the table, they're always talking about, oh yeah, I'm studying this, I'm not quite getting this, and then I always feel so cool to be able to, pull it out. Like I've been in the fraternity for 3 years now, and I can still remember all of that stuff. Yeah. I can't remember what we did in math class last week, but I can remember that.
Yeah.
That's so true.
You don't tell the math people that.
No. You don't listen to this, right?
What about me?
Yeah.
I'm going to plead the fifth.
Thanks.
But I will say this. I think it's important because fraternity and sorority life, people are looking at organizations through a magnifying glass. I mean, they're looking for chinks in the armor. They're looking for imperfections, whatever they can find. And so what that means is that we have to be better, and we've got to be the best that we can possibly be. So we're always at the forefront. We have to be, exude a positive image, and we have to, take the high road when we can. I would just say when you're involved in functions and events, understand it. Understand that you're responsible for what happens during those events. If you're bringing in brothers from other locales to come in fellowship, you're going to have to, police those individuals, including your own members. And regardless if you're a president or if you are a new individual in your organization, you're responsible for ensuring that your chapter and your organization is looked at with a positive light. So you need to present that daily, and you need to be on your best behavior.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, one of the biggest things, kind of going off of that, that hit me when I was finally initiated and like a full brother, was wearing letters. Like, I would walk around wearing letters, and like I'd be opening doors, picking up trash off the floor. Like, I don't know why, but mentally it just because I knew I was representing something bigger and something other than just my normal, like, whatever clothes, it never would have thought that it affected me that much. But I think it's important to kind of have that balance and know the limits, I guess.
I was like, that's, a lot of my brothers, including me, have the letters tattooed. You're always wearing them. And really, you got to remember, you are always wearing them, whether or not they are on your body permanently. But, having it just, it just kind of makes you more mindful. I mean, not that you're a better person with or without letters, but like, remember, I should always be doing the right thing. Have that integrity even when no one's watching.
Now I just open doors and pick up trash because that's who I am, This one's going to be a little bit more personal. Reflecting on your own college experience, how did fraternity involvement shape your personal and professional journey, and how does that inform your approach to leadership within the fraternity and sorority life community?
Well, for me, I was late to the game because I wasn't asked to join a fraternity until my senior year in college. By then, I'd already created a career in student government. So it was kind of the thing. They needed me as a crown, a gem in the crown. I was glad to do it. I enjoyed the experience. I tell the story is that I was SJ president. My treasurer was my fraternity brother, and I fired him with a week left in his term because I told him this is the line that we will not cross, and he crossed it. He's okay. He's a wealthy accountant now.
No.
So you have to learn. I had my own values, and I had the fraternity values, and I was willing to stand up to, well, this is what you all promoted as our values. Well, I'm going to stick to that.
No, that's fair. And I think that's where a lot of fraternities get in trouble. I'm sure
Holding each other accountable.
Yeah, is what you're expected to do and what expectations you're supposed to meet every semester, every year, every recruitment cycle, whatever it may be. And like how you're supposed to act, all of that. It's up to it can be a very small group of people within a fraternity that just completely changes the dynamic of it, and that I think is what can cause the downfall of many.
Yeah, I talk to a lot of people during recruitment, and I always, like, the first thing I tell them is I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to sit here and spout out to you, these are our values, and these are, we're called Phi Gamma Delta or whatever. I was like, you don't know what any of that means, and you really don't care, because people join people. Well, when I start dealing with my brothers, well, now you are in the fraternity. You know exactly what that means. You need to be sticking to that. We are here to change you as much as you are here to, change us, kind of, but, never lose sight of, these are the core values. This is what doesn't change. Even through the years, all the revisions, everything.
What can you bring to the table that adds to our fraternity, not take away from it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I get it.
How are we going to be better? That's the hardest thing, is to always, something that's very hard is always looking for the next step. Like, all right, we just did this great thing. What's next? How are we going to do it better next time? Like, and that's, I don't know, that's just being in a fraternity. It's all you're trying to do is make it the best it can be. Leave it good enough for the next people.
Let me jump in there.
Oh, yeah,
sorry.
Go ahead.
This is from the previous question.
Yeah.
Just like to, for me, it was interesting. I actually, as a youngster, I would probably say 9 or 10 years of age, I saw Omega Psi Phi fraternity in my neighborhood doing community service. I didn't know much about Greek life. I didn't know anything about Greek life. I just knew that these guys in purple and gold came into my neighborhood to try to make a positive difference. And so for me, and then they put on a show for us, and so for me, that's what I remember, through my childhood until I decided to go to college, was that these guys in purple and gold was someone that came into my neighborhood. And so I've come to learn, obviously, who they are and what they mean, and their cardinal principles of manhood, scholarship, perseverance, and uplift. These are cardinal principles that I live by. One of the things that I'm proud of, not just graduating twice from my alma mater, but being able to get my doctorate a couple of years ago. It just speaks to perseverance and continuing to want to further my education from the scholarship standpoint. So I'm pretty proud of that. But it all started with just a visit in my neighborhood when I was 9, 10 years of age, to see these gentlemen in my neighborhood trying to make a difference. Because I knew nothing about college or fraternity and sorority life at that age. As a first generation college student, you're just trying to figure out college when you get on campus. You're just trying to figure out what class am I supposed to take, and those kind of things. At least that was my experience. Like, oh my gosh, I'm here now, what? And so, but one thing that was always on my mind was those guys that I remember when I was 9, 10 years of age. So I think that that experience is what has guided me today. All those cardinal principles in which this fraternity lived their lives. So
that's interesting. I don't hear many people getting that, like, an exposure to a fraternity at that young of an age, because mostly the recruiting process happens at college, because you're not recruiting anybody younger than that. And I didn't even think about going into a neighborhood and just picking it up. Like, the Delta Chi house is basically, it's right next to a neighborhood, and we've never gone into there and just picked up trash, or I don't know, did anything for it. We go to the road, Bevel, and just walk down to Nova and back, which, yeah, we get a lot of trash still, but it's interesting that you took note of that at such a young age and still remembered it and brought it to college with you. I never would have, like, I probably didn't know what a fraternity was till I was 16 years old or something like that. So that's just cool. Very interesting.
I was like, I think it was a very unique experience we got to have after, I think it was Hurricane Ian. We have a pretty good relationship with the Daytona Dream Center and my fraternity, and they were just there handing out food, and I think they did a whole grill, where they were doing dogs and burgers for just people who still didn't have power. Their houses were flooded or whatever. Whoever could get out there, just to be like, hey, here's something to help brighten your day. I know it kind of sucks when your house gets flooded, but I think that was one of the coolest things I ever did. And service is a big part of what we do in fraternity sorority life in general. So I think it's probably one of the most important things we do, in my personal. So it's cool to hear a story like that where it impacted you so much.
Did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, I'm trying to remember. I'm first generation as well, but I don't, other than what you saw in the movies.
Animal House.
Yeah.
All right. You want to go on the last one?
Oh, yeah, I guess we didn't do the last one. I started asking it. So, on a lighter note, what's one memorable or humorous moment you've experienced during your time as a dean that truly embodies the spirit of fraternity or sorority life on campus?
I have a real quick one. And it's for Nicholas.
Oh, yeah.
One of the most humorous things that became a tradition when I was the Greek advisor was they used to throw me in the pool for their fun. So I'm not suggesting that should happen, but at the time it wasn't funny. But now it's very funny because it's not me.
I do it.
You got two guys.
No, you have to read this because that's part of the fun. They dragging you in there.
How did we do? Oh,
we just gotta have a pool event.
We had Greek
Week, bring it back.
No, yeah, well, we
what's
had
on
Greek
Thursday?
week, and you used to make cardboard boats, and you'd swim them up and down the laps until they sank, and then after that, you threw the Greek advisor in the water. But you failed to mention that we had cell phones and pagers and wallets, and I'm like, strip me naked before you do that. Metaphorically.
Yeah. We got
thinking about
mud
my
pit
phone.
volleyball coming up this week on Thursday.
Throw him in the
Nick
Mud
will take a
volleyball?
swim.
into the swamp.
You have Alpha Zeta Delta to thank for mud volleyball.
I'm
Because
glad.
they fought for years to get it, and I don't remember the young woman's name, but she finally was successful the last semester her senior year to get the university to allow it for liability reasons. Now it's ingrained.
Yeah. I think it runs really well. Everybody signs a waiver. We're all good.
No, what the big problem is when you're all muddy and you're done playing, you all jumped in the pool.
You
And
have a hose.
so there was it's the cleanup, which
Gotcha.
you learn in part of fraternity and sorority life is somebody needs to come in and clean that stuff up. Well, they jump in the pool. Leslie Whitmer would have a cow.
Track that stuff into the
Oh my god, this was terrible. And they're on the phone.
That's funny. I didn't know that. I didn't know AZD started mud pit volleyball. That's pretty cool. Any last comments?
What funny thing happened to you?
Oh, yeah.
That's not funny.
I keep forgetting.
I wouldn't say it's funny. It's just really memorable. Is when we had the student orgs and set up and playing their music. I just always think that that's a great way to engage our students to come out and try to get involved. I just think that that's something that we should continue to do, especially as our generations seem to be getting more and more. I don't want to say it's antisocial, but more introverted. There you go. That's probably the better term. It's more introverted. Anytime that we could, try to get students to get out of their shell, I think it's going to be very important to help them make that connection to college. And so some of the things that you all do when you set up your tables and play the music and offer, dogs and burgers or whatever snacks out on the sidewalks is always a good thing. So.
Absolutely. I think tabling is something that people can get lazy with it, but if you do it right, it can be very, very effective.
Absolutely.
Well, I've always seen it. It's like super intimidating to like even tabling, just go up and just start talking to someone about their organization. It's really the people who take on those other roles like O team or whatever. I know they're technically not allowed to talk about what fraternity they're in or whatever, but just the people you end up talking to incidentally that'll convince you more than, oh, let's table, let's have a rock wall, let's cook some dogs or whatever. There are people who get that, but it's the more introverted people. It's about meeting them one-on-one, making those personal connections.
And we were talking a little bit earlier about some of the challenges, and I think that part of that challenge is that because we have so many more introverted students that are coming to college, those that are extroverted, those that are out and don't have a problem with this is who we are, and in your face with it. We've got to find a way to be able to get that across to these students who are a bit more introverted, who would like to get their lessons, go back to the room and just study. What is it that we're doing to get them out of the classroom? How do we meet them halfway? I think one of the great things is you're sitting right on the sidewalk between the classroom and the dorms. And so what are we doing to further engage them before they get back to the dorms, we mentioning the tabling thing. That's why I always think that's such a great event, because you're catching them before they get back to the dorms. And, if you want to keep your numbers up as a fraternity or a sorority, to being able to get those students engaged and get them out of their shell, I think is a part of helping maintain our numbers and actually growing them to a degree.
Well, I was like speaking on your, getting them before they go back to their dorms, at risk of giving away our strategies. Every once in a while, we've started doing it.
Such a secret.
I know. We're doing it more and more where we'll have our recruitment event. There's a space outside of the Boundless that you can reserve. I mean, you reserve that bonfire area, you reserve the basketball courts. All of that is right in front of the dorms. I was like, you literally can't get home without passing us. And we hand out donuts, and we're like, we'll give you a donut as long as you scan the QR code. And then at that point, they just have to put in their name. So I was like, you get that much, and maybe you get 2% to follow through, but that's 2 more that'll
well, if you're
sign
gonna
up.
give me
and
2% on $1 million, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Well, here's a novel idea. How many of us are helping with move-ins? We're talking day one move-ins.
It's hard to get people out to that one though, because you get like 5 or 6 guys that are actually down at that time, are not busy. Most people don't come back until day before school starts.
Right.
The
Or
visibility.
Yeah.
So
I was like, that's the biggest part, is just seeing the letters everywhere.
well, if you work in the president's office and you're allowed to wear the Delta Chi jersey,
yeah.
and you forget to wear the Delta Chi jersey, I'm going to come up and slap you in the back of the head and say, you're missing the opportunity to show that you work in prominent places. And that might be in a tutor lab. Oh, that's a recruiting place.
Yeah.
Your academics are important to us. I see you working in the fitness center. So athletics are important to us. And if I'm that guy who they want to see you where you are, you're going to have the 1/3 who want to join a fraternity sorority. Then you have that 1/3 who's potential, but they're never asked. And then you have 1/3 who's never going to. So you focus on those other 2/3.
Yeah.
I was like, then that's why, you put Fiji stickers on everything. You have like the normal Fiji shirts, just on the back of your laptop, like I have, it's even when I'm not wearing a Fiji shirt or my stitched letters or whatever, it's always, there's no way someone can look at me and be like, oh, I didn't know you were in Greek life. Well, I didn't know
But when
that
you cut me
was
off
Fiji.
on Clyde Morris in the car,
Yeah,
with the
then
Fiji
I'm
sticker,
screwed.
And that's why I've not put letters on my car.
well, it goes that you never give up your letters.
Yeah.
You go down to Razzles and you get in a scrap. You don't have to wear letters. They know who you are. And next thing you're on the news. So I'd rather you be on the news that, the IFC at Embry-Riddle just donated $1 million towards homelessness in Volusia County. You'd be surprised the power that fraternity sororities have and don't utilize.
Like what?
Just, I've always said here on this campus, where the fraternity sororities go, the rest of the campus culture follows. So if you go to sports events, suddenly all the sports events are heavily populated. You go to Lollapalooza, that's the thing to do. That's the non-Greek will say, I love fraternity sorority, but they watch.
And then they go, actually.
You are the jewel of social culture here. And if you wield it, whether it's going to the service day, which is coming up, and you're out there en masse, now you're competing against the 280 student organizations who also are trying to recruit. Well, I need to keep up with the fraternities and sororities because they do great works. So you have a food pantry on this campus. You know, how much food do you donate? But you don't promote that.
The largest amount, actually.
I know.
1,500 pounds last semester.
And it used to be, from alumni relations, the biggest donors to the university used to come from fraternity and sorority alumni, not everybody else. Is that still true? I don't know.
I was like, I advertised personally at my chapter this last Sunday. I was like, a big thing is you got the new guys that are staying in the dorms and have to have meal plans and half the time don't finish them. And then you have the older guys who are broke and don't want to pay for lunch. So they're like, hey, can I please bum a meal plan out for someone? I said, stop giving them to them. Now there is a program to donate your meal plan. When you go up there and you buy something, you're like, hey, take another one off the top, put it in the pool or whatever they call it. I was like, you gotta start doing that. Start saying, no, I can't bum a meal plan off you. And just give it to someone who probably needs it a little more. I just thought of an interesting question. Because you said, we are the social trailblazers.
Potentially.
Potentially. What do you think the next big FSL, IFC, whatever collab is? Like, I think we need to get on the Peppy Hour train.
Peppy Hour? Oh, that
Sponsored by IFC. But what do you think the next big...
Support events that don't cost you money but are fun and don't take a lot of more than 2-3. I love when people say, I can't come because I've got a project. I'm like, you have to eat and it's 2-3 hours. So don't give me that. So Peppy Hour is a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
What is
Boom, we just willed that into existence. It's happening.
the music and stuff they do on the second floor? What's it called now?
Wicked Wednesday.
Skyline Social.
Skyline Social. You scare the heck out of Touch and Go. If you just, all 700 of you show up for that, scare them. Go ahead.
What is the hot sport
I
going
was
on right now? I don't know.
I guess it's baseball season,
baseball season.
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And track and field season. You must go to track meet. It's only 4.5 hours long.
Well, like in like basketball season, ERAU Athletics reached out like multiple
Oh yeah,
times.
they had Greek nights, and then they
Yeah.
said they're having like a raffle, and if you it was a competition. It was a costume competition.
Yeah.
If you won, you got free marketing from athletics.
Yep.
Like they put your name or your
We used to go to the
Board
basketball
everywhere, it's
games back before you were born, just to watch Lambda Chi, because they had the shenanigans that they would do with newspapers and picking on the refs, and it was entertainment since old people. Because I sat on the other side, and we would go. Yes, they're there to watch the basketball game, but we would go to see the fraternities. And once they started, and another one did it, another one did it, and you act as cousins and brothers and sisters from different organization to different organization, and you realize it's not a competition; it is a marriage that all of you are together to promote the strength of all of us. So yeah, we support you, and yes, I buy donuts, and you nickel and dime us to death with all the things that you sell, and I get right back at you with the senior class council. Buy my lemonade.
Well, I was like, I feel like we have that with during the winter with hockey. I think it's pretty big.
Hockey
But-
is, yeah.
Nothing really in the spring that brings us all out.
I feel like Tortugas is a big, not big, but I've heard about
Decent.
a decent amount of people going to watch a Tortugas game. But Yeah, I don't know. I
How about
definitely.
an all Greek life or an all Embry-Riddle spring break cruise?
My lord. I could not imagine the risk management plan on
Yeah,
that.
I do not want to be instructor.
Third party vendor.
Semester at sea, they exist.
Third party vendor.
Really appreciate you guys taking time out of
Thank
your
you.
very busy schedules to sit down, let us get to know you, let the community get to know you a little bit better. I hope you guys enjoyed. Again, really appreciate it.
Thanks for giving us an opportunity to get out of the office for
Yeah,
a minute.
we're always looking for opportunities to get
Yeah,
out.
they're
of the
getting paid
office.
to be here, you know.
Give us another hour.
I want a raise. You can't afford me. I love when students say, "Well, I pay your salary." Oh, buddy, you have no idea. I'm sure Nick gets the phone call at 3 o'clock in the morning. Cha-ching. It doesn't work that way.
Wish.
That's true. All right. Well, everybody listening, we'll catch you on the next one.